The packed courtroom held its breath as Detective Bradley finished his testimony, painting Miguel Rodriguez as a dangerous drug dealer who had been caught red-handed. The evidence seemed overwhelming, the witness credible, and the outcome inevitable. But then a small voice cut through the tension like a blade. 10-year-old Sofia Rodriguez stood up in the gallery, her finger pointing directly at the detective on the witness stand. What she was about to reveal would not only save her father from prison, but expose a corruption so deep it would shake the entire police department to its core. Imagine you're completely innocent of drug charges, but you're facing a police conspiracy with no one to save you. What would you do? Share your smartest answers in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of everyday quiet heroes. The autumn morning was gray and cold as Sofia Rodriguez walked into the courthouse holding her grandmother's hand. At 10 years old, she had never been inside such an imposing building. Today was the day that would determine whether her father, Miguel Rodriguez, would spend the next 15 years in prison. Miguel Rodriguez had been a fixture in the East Side neighborhood for over a decade. His small auto repair shop on Maple Street was where families brought their cars when they couldn't afford expensive dealership prices. He was known for fair pricing, honest work, and willingness to help struggling families keep their vehicles running. But 6 weeks ago, Miguel's life had been turned upside down when Detective James Bradley and his team raided the auto shop, claiming they had evidence of a major drug distribution operation. According to police reports, Miguel had been using his legitimate business as a front for selling heroin and cocaine. The evidence against Miguel seemed overwhelming. Detective Bradley testified that they had conducted a 3-month undercover investigation, during which informants had made multiple drug purchases directly from Miguel inside the auto shop. The detective presented photographs of Miguel allegedly accepting money for drugs, surveillance reports detailing suspicious activity, and testimony from confidential informants. Detective Bradley was a 15-year veteran with an impressive record of drug arrests and convictions. He had received commendations for breaking up several major trafficking operations, and his testimony was considered highly credible by judges and juries. Miguel's court-appointed attorney, Patricia Chun, had done her best to challenge the evidence, but she was fighting an uphill battle. The prosecution had surveillance photos, witness testimony, and Detective Bradley's detailed reports. Miguel maintained his innocence, insisting that someone was framing him, but without evidence to support his claims, his protests seemed desperate. What made the case even more challenging was Miguel's limited English and his fear of the legal system. His nervous demeanor in court made him appear guilty to many observers. His wife, Maria, had been too frightened to attend the trial, leaving Sofia and her grandmother as Miguel's only family support. Sofia had been watching the proceedings with growing confusion and anger. She knew her father was a good man who worked hard for their family. She had spent countless hours at the auto shop, doing homework while her father repaired cars, and she had never seen anything suspicious. The turning point had come 3 days earlier, when Sofia overheard a conversation that would change everything. Sofia had been walking home from school, taking her usual route past the police station, when she saw Detective Bradley talking with 2 other officers in the parking lot. Something about their body language made her stop and hide behind a parked car. Detective Bradley was speaking in a low, urgent voice. She heard him mention her father's name, followed by words like cousin, real dealer, and take the fall. One of the other officers asked about evidence, and Bradley laughed, saying something about photographs being easy to stage when you knew what you were doing. Sofia didn't understand everything she heard, but she knew it sounded wrong. When Bradley mentioned that Miguel would probably get 15 years, and that would clean up the whole mess, Sofia felt sick. She quickly pulled out her phone and started recording, capturing the last few minutes of their conversation. On the recording, Detective Bradley could be heard saying that his cousin Danny was the real dealer, but Danny had connections that made him untouchable. Bradley explained that they needed a fall guy, and Miguel was perfect because he was an immigrant with limited English who wouldn't be able to fight back effectively. Sofia had spent the next 3 days agonizing over what to do with this information. She was just a child, and Detective Bradley was a powerful police officer. Who would believe her? But as she sat in the courtroom watching her father's life being destroyed by lies, Sofia realized she couldn't stay silent. When Detective Bradley finished his testimony and the prosecutor asked if there were any questions, Sofia felt something inside her snap. Detective Bradley is lying about everything, Sophia said, her voice growing stronger despite the shocked silence around her. My father doesn't sell drugs. Detective Bradley is protecting the real drug dealer because it's his cousin. The courtroom erupted. The prosecutor jumped to his feet, demanding that the child be removed. Miguel's attorney looked stunned. Judge Morrison called for order, but Sophia wasn't finished. I have proof, Sophia continued, holding up her phone. Detective Bradley said his cousin Danny is the real dealer, but they needed someone to blame. He said my father was perfect because he's an immigrant and can't fight back. Judge Morrison, a veteran of the bench with 25 years of experience, had seen many dramatic moments in her courtroom, but this was unprecedented. After consulting with the attorneys and reviewing legal precedents, she decided to allow Sophia's evidence to be examined. The audio recording that Sophia had captured was clear enough to understand, despite being recorded on a child's phone from a distance. Digital forensics experts enhanced the audio quality, making Detective Bradley's words unmistakably clear. When the recording was played in court the next day, the reaction was immediate and devastating. Detective Bradley's confession on tape revealed not just his frame-up of Miguel Rodriguez, but an entire conspiracy involving police corruption, evidence tampering, and protection of criminals with connections. The recording captured Bradley discussing how he had staged surveillance photos, coached informants to lie, and manipulated evidence to build a case against an innocent man. But the recording also revealed something even more shocking. Detective Bradley's cousin Danny was part of a larger trafficking operation that had been paying bribes to several police officers in exchange for protection. Within hours of the recording being verified, Detective Bradley was arrested on charges of perjury, conspiracy, evidence tampering, and civil rights violations. His cousin Danny was arrested the same day, along with 3 other officers who had been part of the corruption ring. The district attorney's office immediately dropped all charges against Miguel Rodriguez and launched an investigation into every case that Detective Bradley had been involved with over the past 5 years. Dozens of convictions were overturned, and the city faced millions of dollars in potential lawsuits. Miguel was released from custody that afternoon, walking out of the courthouse a free man. The auto shop reopened 3 months later, with strong community support. Many customers who had avoided the business during the drug allegations returned, and new customers came specifically to support Miguel after learning about his ordeal. Detective Bradley was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for his crimes. His conviction sent shockwaves through the police department, leading to mandatory reforms including body cameras, civilian oversight, and new protocols for handling confidential informants. Sophia's courage also inspired changes in the legal system. New protections were put in place for child witnesses, and prosecutors were required to more carefully verify police testimony, especially in cases involving vulnerable defendants. Today, Sophia is in high school and wants to become a lawyer, inspired by her experience in that courthouse and her determination to help other families facing injustice. Miguel's auto shop now has a small sign in the window that reads, "Truth always wins," a reminder of the day his 10-year-old daughter stood up to corruption and saved not just his life, but exposed a conspiracy that had been destroying lives for years. This story reminds us that heroes come in all sizes, and that sometimes the smallest voices carry the most powerful truths. Sophia Rodriguez proved that when good people speak up, even the most powerful conspiracies can be brought down. If Sophia's story moved you and reminded you that courage has no age limit, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And type "Truth always wins" in the comments, because every quiet hero's story deserves to be heard, and every act of courage deserves to be remembered.